Hey folks, today I want to talk about one of my least favourite things when I bring up meditation to other people, and it's always the same thing and it always goes the same way. So whenever I say to people, oh, I'm a meditation teacher, and then I get halfway through my spiel and they can see that I think there's immense value in meditation. They can see it in my demeanour, my eyes, my voice, but what they don't understand is that I'm speaking from one particular place. And now what happens then is that they get to this particular point in my sentence and they go, right, I've heard enough. I know what you're up to and I know how to write it off so that you don't try and reel me in as if I'm trying to reel anyone in at any given point in time. I mean, I'm of the belief that if you meditate or you have an interest in meditating, you're kind of you're kind of the person who would just let things float into your life. And I'm sort of that way. I'm much more of a Bruce Lee sort of philosophy, the Taoist thing of be like water. And I'm never actually trying to convince anyone to meditate, any one individual. This is where I convince people to meditate, is in this sort of broad context where I can speak to everyone and not highlight any one individual necessarily, because there's no point in trying to convince individuals to meditate. You have to convince groups of people to meditate, and then, or try to convince groups, and then let the people who are interested come out of those groups and identify themselves to you. So I'll get halfway through my second sentence and they'll interrupt me, always interrupt me, and they'll say, yeah, you know what? I've tried meditation. You know, I gave it a crack. You know, and you know what? I just can't do it. I just can't. I must be unique. I must be special because, you know, while all this meditation malarkey works for you and all of your other weirdo spiritual pals, it doesn't work for me because I'm a slightly more evolved human being, and it's like, that's what it makes me do. It doesn't make me angry. It doesn't make me sad. It just gives me this like deep sense of resignation because everybody can meditate. The problem with what these people have experienced is that they've not been taught a meditation that works and works for them. So this is the problem of mindfulness. Because this is part of the issue where mindfulness has become like the go-to form of meditation. And it's because it's cheap. Buddhists are willing to give it for almost free. Or you can have a nice app dressed around it and you can deliver the meditations in a drip-fed sort of way where you're always going to have people looking for more meditations because they're going to get easily bored of the ones they have. And whereas if you have autonomy over your meditation, it never gets boring because it's just what you do. You know, the process is so automatic and what you get out of it is so good that there's no need trying anything else. And I've never met a student yet, and I've met quite a few students and I've taught quite a few people. I've never met one that I couldn't get meditating within 5 minutes. And normally what happens is I'll have people sit down and start to meditate, and within the first, I want to say 5 minutes, I'll go out. You know, I'll get into the zone as we call it, and I'll be out there, and then they'll feel me completely relax, and then they'll be like, you know what, he's completely relaxed, I can let go. And they don't think that very specifically in their inner monologue. They kind of think it instinctively, and they let themselves go. And then at that point, they're meditating as deep as they'll ever get. Well, maybe not as deep as they'll ever get, but they're certainly meditating very deeply. And I remember teaching one of my friends, Hugh. I hope he doesn't make me mention his name, but I normally leave during the meditation, the first one, and let the student meditate on their own for a while. I think it gives them a chance to get used to the idea of what meditation's like on their own, so that they can ask me any questions if they need be. And Hugh and I have been friends for years, so I know Hugh's moods, I know the way he looks, I know the look in his eyes when he has particular emotions. He comes through rubbing his glasses, and rubbing his eyes, with his glasses in his other hand, And all he said when he opened the door to my dining room was, "How long was I gone?" And I said, 10 minutes. He's like, "What?" What? That was a small infinity. And it's because some meditations work for some people and others work for everyone. And mindfulness is one of those ones that works for some people but doesn't work for everyone. Whereas Vedic is what works for everybody. And it's the foundation. If you don't know Vedic meditation, you don't understand the rest of meditation. If you don't know how it started, I said this on the Piston Broke podcast the other night, if it's like the band that starts the genre of music with this one seminal album. You know, you've got your Neverminds by Nirvana, and the Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. You know, you've got these records that exist. And even Con might actually be one of those records now that I think of it. Not that I'm a big Con fan these days, but I think that it's very obvious that there's certain bands that release a record and it changes everything. And Vedic meditation is the Nevermind of meditation. It's the album that started it all. There may have been other techniques before, but they're long since forgotten and consigned to the dusty corridors of an empty library where history resides. And I think where major issue when it comes to meditation is everybody's very hubristic when it comes to their own knowledge about meditation. They don't actually understand the history. They don't know what's happened to meditation and why. They don't understand that it starts in India, works its way through the Himalayas, and you can see as soon as it hits China, Buddhism is developed, and then it becomes about discipline, it becomes about concentration, it becomes about focus, which is perfectly fine. But to do that and forget how to do Vedic, the relaxing side of it, you're missing you're missing 50% of the puzzle, and you're still trying to complete it. So, I mean, the difference is, like, if you do Vedic, you don't need mindfulness. But if you do mindfulness, you still need Vedic. And I know I rail against mindfulness, but it's because it's gotten to this point where everybody thinks that that's what meditation is, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I nearly swore there. It couldn't be further from the truth. And the problem with this is we now have a generation of people who have grown up without the Hindu version of meditation. We've grown up with the Buddhist version, and they believe that that's what it is. So when they try the weak, and it is weak in terms of its ability to move you to another place, useful's garbage. Or maybe that was a Freudian slip. But really, mindfulness is garbage for a lot of things. Like if you're stressed, if you're anxious or you're worried, it might help, but it's going to help a little bit. Whereas if you do Vedic, you will be out of your head. Literally out of your head, like gone. Away from your emotions. You'll have time to step back and look at them objectively, work out what they are. And there's no psychedelic component to mindfulness. Whereas Vedic can be extremely psychedelic. I've had narrative visions in my dalliances with Vedic meditation. Huge. I had a narrative of 3 particular visions over a period of about the same number of months. And they all connected, and they all meant something very particular. And I'm not going to go into them now because there's nothing more boring than somebody telling you their drug trips or their dreams or whatever. And this is kind of the same thing. And the problem is people think of meditation as being something that helps productivity, where that's true, but the deeper aspect of it is that it's about you, it's about your life, it's about your consciousness, it's about how you live within that consciousness. And for God's sake, you need to live within that consciousness in a way that's comfortable for you. If you've got a mental illness like I had, I was bipolar as hell. I was really, I mean, this is how animated I am about this, I'm trying not to swear. I mean, I really struggled with bipolar for a long, long time, especially when it was undiagnosed and I didn't know what was going on, how to treat it, how to get relief from certain symptoms and try and stave off either pole. if I had had useful meditation, I would be so much healthier, so much more like bodily healthier than I am now, because I would have been able to step back from myself and see my emotions for what they are, which is really just lights on a screen. You know, that the you, what makes you is a screen. That's the witness. You know, that's the thing that perceives your perceptions, that perceives your thoughts, and that part of you has to be experienced frequently in order for you to maintain the perfect sense of your life being important, but also not so important that you should be miserable if you're having a bad time. So miserable that you would perhaps do something that wouldn't be the right thing to do. And so ultimately what I want to say is that if you can't meditate, think about where you're at. Think about whether you've done one meditation or one of the many styles. I found an article that listed just 9 types of meditation, and there's 2 categories of meditation, but there's millions of types of meditation that fit into those 2 major categories, and that's inward attention and outward attention. Mindfulness feels like an inward attention, but it's not. It's actually an outward attention thing, whereas Vedic is inward. And the more inward you go, the more psychedelic the experience becomes. And if you're scared of that word, understand that the word actually just means psyche in Greek, meaning mind, and then delic, meaning manifesting. So it's mind manifesting. So you're allowing your mind to manifest itself and tell you what it thinks is wrong. And it's so rare. I've never had a negative image come up that I couldn't deal with, or an emotion come up that wasn't important and should be addressed. So what we need to do as a generation is to re-educate ourselves on what meditation actually is, and then, and only then, will we have a good enough understanding to progress, and to, without judgment, without dogma, without saying this one's crap, do this one, because mindfulness has its place. It really does. And Vedic is not always great either for every situation. There's some times where Vedic is the wrong choice to make. If you're going to meditate, for example, going into a presentation or something, Vedic might make you too relaxed. So you might want to go the mindfulness because it will keep you focused and present, but it will also have you some relaxation going on. So anyway, folks, I hope that wasn't aggressive and ranty, but I'm kind of fed up with this distinction in a lot of ways, and the ignorance is sort of getting to me. But hopefully we can have you come along, learn how to meditate, and we'll fix it one person at a time. I wish you all the best, and nothing but the best in all things. Bye bye.